Hi, I'd like to give you some insights about how I listen to a voice when I'm hearing someone speak or sing for that matter. The quality of your voice and the resonance of your voice are very important. It is colored ideally by your imagination. When you have a huge imagination, your voice will respond to it. But we get into such patterns, cultural patterns, family patterns, all kinds of patterns in the way that we speak. We'll say, someone has a Southern accent or someone sounds like they're from the North. But there are things you can do that will make your voice more resonant, more you, and more grounded. So when I think of a voice, I think of the resonance as being almost like a circle. And someone who's very nervous or someone who has a very high speech pattern is up here, and you can hear what sounds. I have cut off the bottom and I've added more tweeters or higher frequencies. And we have people who speak in higher frequencies all the time. And sometimes I kind of want to go around behind them and give them a big shove and get them back down into their bodies. But someone with higher frequency may even have a permanent smile on their face. They may be speaking like this. And you get this all the time. So you can hear what happens to my voice. And is it really me, or is it all of me? And in all honesty, what I found is that people use about 30 to 40% of the quality that they could use. And again, it doesn't need to have huge practice. It needs to be grounded and balanced in your own body, because your body is your instrument, okay? So that's the tweeters. What about the woofers or the low frequencies? Well, you get people who push their voice down. Or someone, when you think of someone who's depressed, they quite often depress the voice and there's not enough height in it. So it loses excitement. It loses some of the fire that we have. You get this also from people who want to control their voice. And the worst thing you can do when you give a presentation is think of controlling your voice. It happens when people are reading as well. They go, today I would like to speak to you about how we speak. And that becomes very measured, very boring. It's not the way we talk. When we talk to people, when we talk to our best friends, we have all kinds of energy, all kinds of liveliness. And that same energy needs to be in your voice. So if it's pushed down, it needs high. If it's way up here, it needs some lows. And we have people who need all of those things and various combinations. And sometimes it's only a matter of balance and staying within your own body that will help us change that quality of sound. And the biggest thing that will change it is your imagination. There's a big difference in saying, once upon a time there were 3 little pigs, or once upon a time there were 3 little pigs. And an audience hears that. And this is another reason that storytelling has become so important to the audience and in the teaching of presentation skills, because when we tell our own stories, we are alive, we're with it, we're passionate. When we are doing what we perceive to be serious business, then it becomes very staid and very boring too much of the time. So that's what I hear in a voice. And there are a lot of exercises here for your imagination, for ways to get more color, and ways for you to be comfortable with your own voice. And neglecting it can cause double messages, unseen, unrealized, subconscious kinds of things that go on. So to me, it is the most neglected thing in presentation skills. And this course offers you quite a number of ways to correct that. And the best way you can tell if you've corrected it is to video yourself and watch the feedback. And I've had so many people say, oh, I don't like my voice. Well, one reason you don't like it is hearing it outside and hearing it inside are very different. We're inside the motor, basically, of the voice here. And outside, it has a different quality because we're not hearing all the things that are going on. So we go, that's not good. Other people think it's fine, but you may well not like it. If you don't like it, you may want to start looking at some of these exercises, because you can always add depth and resonance to your voice. Now let me show you some of the things that will cause a voice to sound strange, that are out of balance. One is the perception that you need to go to your audience. As soon as you do that, you have literally created what I call a bent clarinet. You know, you don't go into a shop and buy an instrument that's bent. And yet when we're in front of audiences, we get in very weird physical positions. Well, when we do that, your whole throat and the structure of your resonance chamber is bent or distorted, and it will distort the sound. So if I go, ha, same pitch, but it sounds lower or higher depending on what I've done with that. So that's another way that the tweeters and the woofers change, and that has to do with your position. And so ideally, think of having just as many in the audience behind you, or you can think of a support group of thousands of angels behind you if you want, as you have in front. That will keep you centered in yourself without needing to go forward. And let me say a little bit about podcasting, because what I see in a lot of instances is people occupying the whole screen. Well, that is the equivalent of all caps in an email. That is in your face, and it's hard to watch. Sometimes people are very enthusiastic about doing that, but you need some space, okay? So if you're podcasting, be sure you create space. And you don't need to go into your computer like this. The same is true of a microphone. I don't need to go forward. I can bring it to me and bring the audience to you. I always say, you know, come into my web, said the spider to the fly. Compel your audience to come to you. Don't go out to them. And in all honesty, if you're speaking to a colleague or a small group and you're like this and they're not, you're a mismatch and you're invading their space. So you don't really want to do that. You're not only invading their space, your voice is changing with it. So there are a number of physical things that change the voice, and shoulders are one as well. So as soon as I do this, I've squashed my larynx and the sound has changed. So if someone's told you to get your shoulders down, there's a good reason for that. It leaves space in the neck for my vocal apparatus to work, okay? And in terms of thinking of using your voice to fill a room, one of the worst words that I can ever imagine with voice is the word project your voice. What they want is for you to get bigger, not necessarily more focused. What typically happens when someone projects their voice is they project their head at the same time, but they go out here like this, and you can see my chin leads. It also brings the whole back of my throat forward and makes the sound harsh, okay? And you don't want a harsh voice when you're speaking on stage. I'm sorry. Not unless you're playing a character that needs to have that voice. But in general, when you're speaking in public, you don't need that kind of harshness. I have to smile because I lived in France for quite a number of years. And of course, the French language is very musical. So when they speak, it's bonjour, madame, it's da-da-da-da. It has a real flow. So you go into a restaurant and it's just a kind of murmur of voices. The American language and the way our culture is much more, not necessarily aggressive, but it's much more pushed, and it's a harsher sound. The American English is, you know, very kind of here. So when you go into a restaurant with that, it's really cacophonic. And it's really, really loud by comparison. So it's always interesting to compare languages and the musicality. But our language has a musicality as well, and it's possible to use it. So what I'm saying is you can change your voice. It is possible, and it's important that you consider your voice when you make a presentation. And it's not as difficult as you think. We have lots of things on offer here to help you do that.